We the top 10. UGK the major way, not play it don't stop here. Traffic lights, we going, know the time until the clock near. Bands on roll, we doing digi to the whole block clear. Yo, what you got there? Oh, did you not hear? Indies taking over and we got the whole shop, yeah. Her, she wanna know me better, but I'm on the top 10. Gotta match my energy, you see I'm in the top, yeah. Yeah, it's top 10. Hey, now I'm in blessed mode, did you forget, bro? Put G.O.D. first and nothing less, no. On a radar per release, per request, yo. Life is like a dice game, that's a bet, though. Is you bugging, that's a dub. Shoulder shrug to the stub. Tell them hit the squatty up. See a line of cars meet up. Nah, don't bother us. Windows fogging up. If she in a passenger, then you know she finest. Damn, it's really still a bros and my blood love. All is all love, ayy.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet. Unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it, my words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it, you know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly, we ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all, peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah.
Episode 390 of the PHP Ugly podcast is what you're listening to and or watching. Please put your pants on. If this is your first time joining us, we are a podcast that focuses on the PHP programming language, the surrounding community, which is pretty fantastic, and our company, PHP Architect, which we still have no ads, commercials for, or anything else. So
we have a lower third thing right there.
That's a start. If you want to be part of the show, you can do that by popping into our Discord and at discord.phpugly.com, and you can be part of the show. Lower third there if you're watching the live stream. You can suggest titles by hitting bang title and what you think the title of the show should be, because we're basically phoning it in at this point and we need people to help us. But I strongly suggest that you hang out in the Discord all week long if you're a PHP developer. Fantastic people in there, great back and forth, great discussions going on. But for now, for this hour of the day, every week, Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time,
Thursday.
Damn it, John!
We've only been doing this for how many years on Thursday?
It's hot, and I'm getting a little fuzzy. I apologize. Yes, we are. This is our time. But this time is made a little better thanks to some support and sponsorship from honeybadger.io, PHP Architect, and our fantastic supporters in Patreon. On Patreon? On Patreon.
On Patreon.
We're going to talk about all of them a little later, with the exception of PHP Architect, because again, we don't have a commercial.
Did we hear from some of our patrons recently?
I mean, I hear from them all the time. I don't know if there's something specific you're talking about.
I'm talking about Buttery specifically.
Oh, I'm Eric, by the way. This is John, if you don't know who we are.
Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm John.
Welcome. Buttery, since we did the face reveal of Buttery, I feel like he's gone back in hiding. Witness protection is only as good as people not knowing where you're at. We may have doxed him on that one. I'm not sure. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I can't think of anything.
Have you seen those GeoGuessers?
Oh, dude, who are these people?
I don't get it, but like you said, we shared a picture of them. I'm sure they took all the data within that little picture of where he was at, and like, all right, he's at this restaurant at this table. There's a piece of gum on the underneath side of that one table right there.
Right, and it's like when you say data, you're only talking about like the visual data of the picture. Like they just looked at the picture and they figured out what he ordered, what day of the week it was, and what the weather was like. It's amazing what these guys, what these people do. Sorry, I say guys.
I think you got the wrong Discord connected to the.
I am noticing it is not updating. It is the right Discord because it posted in here. What John is referring to is the fact that our chat is not updating for whatever odd reason. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for you there. Let's go ahead and turn it off, I guess, for now. But yeah, no, we're in the right Discord for sure. I don't know why it's not.
This was all set up for PHP Roundtable still when I got in here, so I may not have done something I needed to do.
No, this is outside of that. Matter of fact, when we do Roundtable, which we had a PHP Roundtable last week, if you haven't gone back and watched it or listened to it, you should. Great conversation. But when we do Roundtable, we actually use the PHP Ugly Discord because it's too much of a pain in the ass to switch back and forth, and so we just use Discord. We see the people coming in from YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hi, Philippe.
Yep.
Philippe, yeah. Yeah, we talk about PHP Arch more than what publicity would do. What do you? I don't know what you're referring to. PHP Architect, subscribe today.
Here, there it is.
Yes.
So
subscribe today.
Nope, talking about up there. Of course, we talk about PHP Architect a lot. It's our business. That's kind of how we make our money.
Developer. Of course, I talk about PHP Architect. I can do TikTok. I can TikTok. Hey, Corey. Hey, Corey. Wow, we have a motivated and positive. Oh, for fuck's sake! And he can't even post. I don't know what's going on. I'm very confused. But yeah, no, it's not working.
We tell everyone to join us on Discord, and then it doesn't work.
It goes away.
What in the world happened?
I don't know. All sorts of bad things are happening, man. John knows. I haven't really shared on the socials at all, but we lost air conditioning, which doesn't sound like a big deal, and it sounds very like privileged to say that, and it is. I won't lie, but god damn it, I need it. Like where I live is hot. I don't know where you are, John, what it is, but we've got to be in triple digits today. Nope.
Really?
We're almost in triple digits. Yeah, it's hot, but I'm getting it replaced. As a matter of fact, they think they're going to have the upstairs one working by tonight, and then the downstairs one tomorrow. And yes, I just ousted myself. I have 2 AC units. I don't know, man. It's hot. I've had a rough day. My brain isn't focused.
It's been one of those client days, eh?
Yeah, it's been fun.
You go from the high of our client interaction yesterday to the low of a client interaction today.
Yeah, I had a great time yesterday. We got to have lunch with one of our NorCal kid just showed up. Hey,
Hi. It's very warm.
you're salty. You're hot and salty.
It's warm here.
NorCal kid, ladies and gentlemen. I assume SoCal's with you. Oh,
Their place, like,
okay. So, audio
Shut-
listeners, NorCal
Shut-
kid just popped in the office studio,
Yeah.
whatever.
Shutter's calling you out on YouTube.
Shutter should be calling me out on YouTube. What did I do?
I'm getting too old for show host. You won't be voted for in the next elections.
Damn it, Shutter. Oh, so yeah, AC client meetings. Yeah, so we got the rare occurrence of having lunch with a client yesterday, which is great. Actually, one of my they're like kids, right? You don't want to say you have a favorite, but one of the clients I enjoy having lunch with. I'll put it to you that way.
It was very nice. We sat there for probably, after you left, another half hour or more.
Oh, really?
Just chatting. Yeah.
Is that where they unload about me? It's like, oh, fucking Eric. Man.
Yeah.
You got to do something about this.
Of course, that's when that happens. Can't do it in front of you.
We got PHP Tech kind of in the works. Things are happening.
We do. You didn't reply to my Slack today.
Probably, dude. I have been in meetings. I've been in meetings. What Slack did I not reply to?
The one.
But we have hoping to have a website up here shortly.
Yep.
Anybody interested? The new URL is going to be phptech.io, which works today. The old one,
Just
quite
goes
honestly,
to the old site.
Yeah, the old one will continue to work too, probably for the next year or two. But phptech.io is what will be on all the marketing and hype, and every time we talk about it, that's what we're going to refer to. So bookmark it today and look for early tickets going on sale. I think John said he's going to have it up by the end of the show.
Probably.
I vote we do away with blind early bird. I feel like we go above and beyond offering a deep discount for blind early bird, but the reality of it is like almost nobody buys the blind early bird. Everybody still waits for speakers to be announced. So I just say, just do early bird like everybody else. I think we're the only conference that does blind early bird.
I don't think so. I think most of them do.
I don't know. What do you think, Discord? Do we keep doing blind early bird or no? You let us know in Discord or
if you ask them, they're going to say give away tickets for free. And if we had the sponsorship and we could do it, we would.
Totally will.
But...
Dude, I totally want to do that. I am so envious of the Scale conference I'm a part of because they have ticket prices of like $20, but they have like 1,000 sponsors and big sponsors like IBM, Oracle. I'm like, how are you guys doing this? I just need a fraction of that. And like, I'm pretty sure like the $20 is just like, hey, if you say you're going to be there, you better be there because you paid $20,
right?
Because they don't cut back on like tracks or swag or anything. It's insane. We'll get there, man. I feel like we'll get there. I feel like the PHP community as a whole is starting to reestablish their existence.
Buttery.
And
I hate not having the Discord chat on screen, but Buttery just says blind early bird. Is that the new Sesame Street character?
There's Buttery. Buttery's here. See, even the bot is picking up. Hey, somebody in Discord do a title. I want to see if the bot actually fires. But yeah, I mean the bot sees all the conversation, so I don't know what this is. Totally on Restream. Restream is not doing something correctly. And I'm pissed off now. The growl at the beginning of the show is X has decided to change who they'll allow to stream on their platform. And it's not like oh, hey, are you an appropriate person to stream on the platform? It's, hey, are you going to pay us money? Is what it is. you have to be a premium subscriber to be able to stream on the platform. And I signed up. So my account, I had signed up for. I forgot why I had done my account. I did mine the same
Because you
time I
wanted
did.
because you wanted that blue check mark.
No. I've never had the blue check mark. That's the one setting I went in there and checked. Don't blue check mark me. But I did mine the same time I did PHP Architect. I had a reasoning for it. I forget what it was, but I went in. So I know how to do it. I've done it for other accounts, and I went in and did it for PHP Ugly last night. And it even sent me an email and said, "Hey, you used the same phone number to confirm this account that you've used on other accounts. So if you ever need to recover a password, you'll only be able to use it on this account." I'm like, all right, I don't care. I mean, whatever, sure. And so I just assumed, okay, everything's good. It's got the premium account, and I went to stream today, and it would not stream on the account. So I looked, and premium wasn't enabled. I don't know if there's delayed or what's going on, but I'm pissed. X, come on, help a brother out.
So because you brought that up this morning, I activated on mine, but it was just before the show. So I think there is some sort of delay in there as far as when you can. Although
Yeah,
I don't know what did it say? Did you try posting and it gave you an error message, or because I was able to post, I just don't know if it's considered live streaming or not.
no. What happened? What happened was, the coming soon, like the numbers weren't going up very quickly. I'm like, what is going on? And so I clicked the little eyeball and noticed Ugly wasn't on there. And I'm like, okay, what just happened? And yeah, it's gone.
Oh, that must be for mine too. I did the YouTube link in my post, so that's probably why I'm not technically live streaming.
Right. I just reposted from my other account over. Hopefully that worked. So welcome X people. We've been getting a lot of good views on X. That's why I kind of want to make sure that thing is working. I wish that Mastodon had some sort of streaming as well, where it didn't require you to go to YouTube, because I just think people like staying on their platforms, not jumping somewhere else. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I've been told today that I really don't understand UIs at all. So no, I'm not bitter. You're bitter. What? Oh man.
It's hard when you talk to a client where the owner has a completely different opinion than everybody else.
I don't know who you're talking about, John, but sure, I would agree. I would agree with that sentiment. It would be challenging.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's talk PHP. We've been told we don't talk enough PHP. Like, they even asked, why do you call PHP ugly? You guys don't talk about PHP. I'm like, I feel like we have been talking a lot about PHP. I mean, more so than usual.
Except I'm looking at all the tickets on our board, and
yeah, there's no PHP on there.
We're a technology podcast at this point. We talk about technology in general.
Yeah. I mean, I have what do I have? I have a Laravel one on here. What's this? I don't even remember what this one was. It was from last week.
It's just
Pin It. Pin It. Yeah, I did want to talk about this. Have you seen this one, Laravel Pin It? It's not new. I think they announced it at Laracon last year, and it's a way to do oh geez, I don't even remember what it was. It was the feature release where you can A/B test. You can release features. Yeah, feature flag. That's the word I was looking for. Where you can have certain people have a certain feature that's not available to everybody else. It's like one of those things that, when you're working on big applications, you have this real requirement for it, and you're having to come up with these solutions of, oh, hey, if they have this setting set in their database, which is basically what this is. It's just, it's baked into the framework now, which makes it nice. Would you use something like this?
Yes. I mean, I use feature flags all the time. If I were in Laravel, having that built in would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I forget. I remember looking at this a while back. Does it also do kind of A/B testing?
It says A/B test new interface designs right here. So, but I don't
Yeah.
know if it's like what I looked through this once before, and the one thing I was looking for, because you can set there's a lot of ways you can set it up, and one of the ways you can set it up is a random. Matter of fact, it's right here, lottery, right?
Yeah.
You can randomly set it up, and I keep meaning to dive deeper into it because if I did a lottery for a feature flag, I would want to know, like, okay, how many people got directed to this, and I don't know if this does that. If it tells you that.
I'm sure it does because it has to remember what they were assigned. So I think it does go into either a feature table or some table where you could see that.
You are right. You were right
'Cause-
there. I do remember reading that. Yeah.
Because once it assigns you, you stay in that cohort of people throughout your, unless there's a method on here to, change it.
hmm Yeah. So this is cool. I'm thinking of using this. I like
It's funny
these
you
things.
brought this up because in a meeting today, we were talking about A/B testing and the framework I'm in, a homegrown framework that's 12 plus years old. We have this feature flag A/B testing concept built into it, but it just doesn't get used very often. And there's a new person that's in charge of, they're called product-led growth. So their whole thing is trying to optimize the product for users. And he's like, I want to do this A/B testing. How hard is it going to be? I'm like, we have it built in. It's easy. And everybody else is like, we have that?
Really?
Yes.
That's something we can
do? And it's pretty much along the same lines. It's you pass in a user and say, hey, do you have this flag? Or are you in this cohort of people? If not, you get assigned randomly to either A, B, or if you have multiple tests, evenly distributed. And then the next time you ask, it says, okay, you're already in here, and returns that.
Interesting.
Pretty straightforward, yeah.
You know what? I actually have another Laravel one, and I don't know where. I must not post it. Did I put it in your? Nope, that's all your stuff. Let me see if I can find this one because, yes, maybe. Oh, that's why I didn't, because it was less impressive than I thought it was when I first read it. I'll go ahead and throw it in here. So there is a post on Laravel News that talks about API versioning in Laravel 11, and this caught my eye because if you've ever done APIs, versioning is a big deal, right? Because you're typically developing APIs for external people to consume, and you really can't muck around with it a lot once it's published, right? Because they're expecting to send you certain things and expecting to receive things, but occasionally you have to iterate on APIs. And when I saw this, and everybody has a different approach to this, a different way of handling it. And when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. They have some built-in way of doing API versioning. And it doesn't really. It basically what the article is kind of outlining is, says, hey, in Laravel 11, it's a new cutback, slimmed framework by default. And if you want these extra things, you're going to have to install them. And one of them was API routes, which is typically there by default today, but tomorrow you'll just have to run an artisan command that says install :API. No big deal. But it then talks about different ways of versioning APIs. And the one kind of example is kind of an uglier example, but like a way a lot of people will do stuff with prefixes and stuff. And then they kind of go into some other approaches, which is basic. The one that they talk about is an approach that I use where I created different route files for the versions. And they are just kind of talking about those. So I'm not sure why this was a post on Laravel News, but if you ever do API versioning and you're looking for nice, clean ways to manage the versioning, that it is a good article and outlining good ways to do that. But it's not anything you have to wait for Laravel 11 to do. You can actually apply these things to your current Laravel application.
Right. Or you take the approach of you don't version your API. Just don't.
Why would you not? Explain yourself, young man.
It's just the approach that we have taken. You don't, very rarely do you introduce backward breaking changes. So
True.
Because you can add new things to your API. If you need to add something, you add it. If you really need a backward breaking change, it's probably a whole new API endpoint versus a version versus a version 1 of this and a version 2 of it. It's a different endpoint. It's now here, and then deal with the old one. Do you keep it around? Do you sunset it? How do you deal with that?
Gotcha. So you guys do continue to iterate on API endpoints. Everything is just an active API endpoint. If it's a published API endpoint, it's an active API endpoint.
Right. And you just
Gotcha.
you try to make good decisions up front where you don't have to have backwards breaking changes.
Yeah, man, that sounds risky to me. I'd be curious to find out if a lot of other people kind of take that same approach. I think if the application is small enough, but I know you're not working in a small application, so I think that seems just really risky to me.
It's no different than having a version 1, version 2. The big difference is it almost seems in having version 1, version 2, when you want to make a backwards breaking change, you're now duplicating the entire stack, the entire API, versus this one endpoint has a change. So let me create a new version of it, call it whatever I need to call it.
Yeah. See, I think I take it maybe the approach I take is wrong, because I probably take a little bit of a hybrid approach where the couple times I've done this is if I upgrade a backwards breaking change of an API endpoint, that will become a new version. So everything's version to begin with, right? Version 1, version 2, but the end user only links to whatever the active default one is, right? So in the URL, it would be, /API /place
user,
whatever. And then if there became a version 2, that would become the default. And if anybody needed to use the older one, they would have to use API /v1.
So that's an example of, if you have a backward breaking change, you've just broken everyone that is using your API.
So the idea behind that is you do like these services where, hey, we're making a change to this API endpoint. Here's what's going to change. You can use it today as version 2, but eventually this will become the default. And if you need to continue to use the old API endpoint, you will need to use version 1. And both of those URLs are active URLs that they can use. But you also have a shorter default URL as well.
Right. But are you literally copying all the code so you have a version 1 and a version 2?
Of one particular endpoint, or are you talking about the whole API stack?
The whole APIs.
No, it's just the one endpoint you're working on. So it does become a separate file, at least the way I've always done it. It is a separate file, and I usually have the same sort of name spacing in my folder structure as well, right? There's APIs, and there's V1, and then there's the APIs there. And then if I need a V2, there becomes a V2 folder in there. So I guess technically you could absolutely kind of keep it all in the same file and do some checks. I don't know. That seems like that would be more work than it's worth. But yeah, no, it's just onesie twosies. Whatever API endpoint needs that backwards breaking change upgrade, it gets it. And if you need the old one, you use V1. And if I need to upgrade another one, I'll upgrade another one. So I guess in theory, a reason why that could be considered a bad practice would be, there could be a V4 of one API endpoint, a V3 of another, and everybody else is on V1. And you get this like a broken versioning system, I guess, is one way to look at it.
Yeah. You must duplicate the routes file though, because if I as a user am like choosing to go to version 1 of one endpoint, I might end up having that in all my endpoints. Or you're saying there's a new version 2 of the one endpoint, but not all the others. Are you pointing version 2 for all those others as well, so that I can update my base URL and I'm just accessing your various endpoints? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I understood you correctly. Yeah, so definitely the way I've done it in the past, it's all been one API route file. In this article, they actually break it down to multiple API route files, which makes a lot of sense, I guess. So yeah, I guess I don't know if I have a great answer for you, because I'm not sure I totally followed your thinking there. Yeah, but yeah, typically there would be a default endpoint with it where it's just API/name, and those would that would point to the correct controller, and then there would be API endpoints that's prefixed with V1 or V2. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. It's not that complicated until you try to explain it, I guess. It feels like it was way overthought. I don't know.
So while you're talking, I just happened to see one of our comments on YouTube from Caesar, who said clickbait. Curious, one, why you said that, and are you the Caesar that wrote an article? And if so, I emailed you and I'm waiting for a response.
Caesar
Mendez.
What did we say that was clickbaity? Did I say something clickbaity? I feel like I might have. That's the only way to get views nowadays. You got to clickbait things. So Simon says, use abstract subdomains, kind of like Ubuntu release names. Interesting. Yeah. I think I'm not sure. What do you mean by subdomains? You mean an actual subdomain in the URL where it's api.phparch.com and v1.api.phparch.com? I'm curious what you mean by that, because I don't see how
there's no numbering, so it's always on Mario, Summer on Luigi.
Yeah. I think that's what I was saying, right? Where there's always like that default route. That could definitely be a subdomain, but it doesn't address the versioning issue we talked about, which I would handle the same way I handled whether the API was a subdomain or not. Yeah. Oh, what? That's clickbaity? That was for the Laravel News article title? Oh, right. Oh, so yeah, right. We're not clickbaity. Yeah, you're right.
That's actually versioning in Laravel 11.
Yeah, that's actually why I didn't include it initially, was because it's like, I don't understand. Like, this is already something you do. So I appreciate that, Caesar. Yeah, it's clickbaity. We need to be more clickbaity, I feel like.
I'm currently in the process of rewriting the entire REST API stack that the client uses. Like, the team is trying to actively get rid of the old stuff because it was written over 10 years ago, and the developer that led that effort hasn't been there in 7 to 8 years at this point. And the framework of the API is just not great. I remember back when it was first written, it wasn't OAuth. You had to take the timestamp and the hash of the content and somehow add some value to the header. So that was kind of like your signature to a point. And it was such a nightmare to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And then we threw OAuth into it, and it works, but very poorly. And every single API request starts a brand new session. And it's just so bad because one, they're supposed to be stateless and not have any session at all.
Right.
So, but to get to that point of rewriting the API, I just rewrote the whole middleware authentication stack, and I'm proud of it. But it ended up being like some 200 files changed
Mm-hmm.
just to get this different concept into the code base.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny talking about bad APIs and poorly written APIs. Our team has been dealing with some bad APIs lately. Before we get into bad APIs, because I would absolutely love to get into bad APIs, let's take a moment and thank one of our sponsors, honeybadger.io.
Splunk like querying without having to sell my kidneys? Nice. That's a direct quote from someone who just saw Honeybadger Insights, the new observability tool from the folks at honeybadger.io. Insights is a fresh approach to logging, performance monitoring, and observability. It's a bit like Splunk, Datadog, or CloudWatch logs, but with just the good parts and a reasonable price tag. Honeybadger helps you gain deeper visibility into what's happening inside your applications, letting you drill down into the details and step back to see patterns in your data. You'll love how easy it is to query your logs and events and create quick charts and dashboards. The best part is that it's available on Honeybadger's free tier as part of their comprehensive monitoring suite, which includes error tracking, uptime monitoring, status pages, and more. Get started for free, then pay as you grow, or choose a 30-day free trial to unlock the full power of Honeybadger right away. To get started, visit honeybadger.io/plans. That's honeybadger.io/plans. Thank you, Honeybadger.
Honeybadger.
Right.
So I go ahead.
So I noticed in the chat in Restream, when you click on the little arrow and you can choose where you're sending messages to, the Discord one is grayed out. So something happened with that connection.
Yeah, if you see my reply to Simon, it shows you where it posted. Or I don't know if you see it, but I can see where it posted to, and it did not post to Discord. So there's definitely a broken Discord somewhere that, honestly, John, we're not going to figure out in the next 45 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So, okay. So as a developer, I have written shitty code. So I am definitely not I do my best not to call out people as bad developers, because I don't care how bad you are. I've done worse worse in the past. And we have been dealing with some things. One of the things I've always prided myself on is I'm good at listening to when somebody tells me I'm doing something wrong. If they're making sense, and I can actually look and say, oh yeah, they're right. This is how everybody else does it. Blah blah blah. I'll do it, and I'm pretty quick to acknowledge that. And if I can't go back and fix what I've done in the past, I make sure I don't make that mistake moving forward. Funny enough, APIs were one of them, and how I was handling APIs, and specifically how I was handling errors in APIs. And we have a project we're working on that it's one of these weird things. If you've worked for a development group long enough, especially if you work for one that is dependent on consulting work, they will overcommit. We try not to do that. We try to be very honest and straightforward, and let people know where limitations are. But there's a lot of groups out there that aren't, and I feel like this group that we're working with kind of did that, where they weren't a API driven service, and because the conditions of a customer, that requirement became a necessity. They're like, oh yeah, we can 100% do this. And on our side, we're like, fantastic. We love APIs. We work with them every day. This is great. And it just became like this nightmare scenario for us because you could tell right off the bat, like the way things were being turned around, like, yeah, there's something broken with this process. And we kept asking for documentation because they're like, okay, the endpoints are ready. It's like, what does that mean? We need documentation. Like, what are we hitting? How are we hitting it? What sort of authentication do you need? And so we just kept coming to them with these questions. They're like, okay, we got documentation. And like the first documentation, we've talked about this on the show in the past. The first documentation was just like this 2-page Google Doc of just like this long JSON. And I'm like, this, by this time I'm getting involved. I'm like, this is not really telling us anything. You're not giving us endpoints and you're not telling us how to authenticate. And so things went radio silent for a very long time, so much to the point where like the PMs had to get involved and say, hey, we need feedback. And even the customers got involved and said, this team needs your feedback. Where everybody stalled until they get it. And so we eventually get this huge PDF of API endpoints, all written in Spanish, which is nothing wrong with Spanish, but like none of us knew how, none of us can read Spanish. And so that became like, I'm like, hey, I hate to say this, but we need this in English. And we finally got it, right? So we're trying to make progress on this and we're being patient because it's becoming very evident that this might not be like their wheelhouse, like API endpoints is not something they do on a regular basis. So I felt like, okay, as long as we keep giving them feedback, we'll be okay. And then we got to a point where our developer is like, Eric, like every API endpoint I hit is giving me a 200, regardless of if there's an error in there or not. Like if there's an error in there, they have a field called error that has a number associated with it, and then you're supposed to know what that error is. I'm like, oh, okay, that's no big deal. We'll just tell them to, like, if it's an error message, don't send a 200 response, just send another response back to us so we know it's an error message. And I did the time to do the research and get all the kind of standard ways of doing this now. I'm like, I'll just share all this with them so they don't have to find it all, and being very polite with my response. And they're like, their reply was, no, that's not how we do it, and we have people using these endpoints. I'm like, okay, well, this is the way you're should be doing it. So is there any way you can change your no, it's impossible for us to change our response codes because it would break everybody else. I'm like, no. You can still send back your payload. Hell, you can include your error code in your payload. We're just asking you, your response code should not be 200. Just give us something else besides 200 so we know we're handling it differently. And they're like, nope, not doing it. I'm like, geez, it just wasn't a hill I needed to die on. And I'm just like, I told our client, I'm like, yeah, this is not a good sign. Like, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun process, and
You gotta love bad APIs.
Yeah,
It doesn't help that
movie.
this is we have PHP Architect. It's our client is integrating with another provider who's dealing with another development group to build the API. So there's this long chain of removal, and they don't feel like they have to deal with us.
Yeah, it's a little painful, right? And it's just, and we have another project we're working on where they have API endpoints. We're just not using them how they were designed to be used. And that has just become a complete nightmare because they're like, oh, yeah. You know what? Hit this API endpoint and pass this information in the system. It will trick the system into doing this and it'll do this thing. And it's just like, what? Like, really? That's really how you want to handle this?
think I told you about one that I'm trying to do that's something very similar with. It's our client's partner dealing with another service, and it's all around Salesforce. So somehow they are doing stuff within Salesforce and Authorize.net. So it's payment related. So it's kind of important. And I'm following all their documentations. I'm posting, and I finally get it all working from our side, posting the data where I'm supposed to. And my client's partner that I can communicate directly with said, yep, everything looks good. And then 2 seconds later, it's like, wait, this record in Salesforce now isn't tied to this record in Salesforce. I'm like, I don't know Salesforce. I'm just posting where I'm told to post. So he sets up a meeting with the third-party vendor, and we start going through it all. And he's like, oh, well, you need to include the account ID. I'm like, that's not in the documentation. So I spend time doing that. Make it work, contact the partner, and he says, yep, looks up, nope, still doing this here. I'm like, again, I don't know. So again, we get on another call. He then tells us that the error is the email just can't have any numbers in it. So he puts a workaround in there where using this fake Gmail address is supposed to trigger a different workflow on their side to do some magic. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I spend time getting that all working. I hit the endpoint, contact the partner, still doesn't work. It's like, I can't do anything. I'm following all the directions and it just doesn't work. I contacted them a few weeks ago and they're like, I said, are you waiting on me for anything? I want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball. And he said, no, I just emailed them. I told them we're not paying them another dime until this is fixed. I'm like, you're paying them already? what are you paying for?
They're getting paid?
I want to get paid to do nothing. I learned about a new service today. I haven't done anything with it. I'm interested in learning more. But have you heard of the AWS SageMaker?
SageMaker. I like Sage. No, I have not.
SageMaker. It's some machine learning service within AWS, and one of our clients happened to say, hey, I'm going to be using this in case you see any alerts. It's me playing with it. And now I'm going to go to them. I want to know more. What are you doing with it? How are you using it? Because I want to
do it. Yeah. Build, train, and deploy machine learning models for any use case with fully managed infrastructure, tools, and workflows. That sounds expensive.
It does sound expensive. Not sponsored. I'm not making any money off of it. Amazon is just another service that seems interesting. I'm sure one of the big things they wanted to use it for was those two right in the middle at the bottom there: fraud detection and churn prediction. If I were to guess why they were using it, because churn is a huge topic for them, and I'm sure they want to try and figure out what are some
churn.
So churn is if you have a monthly subscription service, if somebody stops paying or cancels their service, that's churn. And you're trying to figure out why do people churn and how do you make it better? Like what's causing them to churn? What can you do to improve that? So for their services specifically, they know a user that is integrated with this third-party service churns less than people that don't. Okay, how do we get them to integrate with that service? Obviously, if they don't need it, they're not going to integrate with it. But it's like, okay, now I want to target customers of that third-party service to use our services so that maybe they stick longer. So it's just a qualitative analytical thing. Not making any sense, but just doing data analytics and trying to figure out how do you keep people using your services.
Mm-hmm. Like, does the word churn come from some? I guess it's just a weird word to use. What does it mean?
Well, churn is, I'm used to it in churning butter, first of all, but
that's the first thing that came to my mind as well.
I don't know how it made its way into software, but
Mm,
that's just what it is. People churning, leaving.
interesting. Yeah, I've been wanting to get into ML machine learning languages, MLLs, for a while
LLMs.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, creating my own, and I mean, I think obviously, we have, from the magazine perspective, I mean, we have a lot of stuff we can feed to it and get some feedback on. So yeah, I let me know how this goes. I'm really excited about this. I have ideas. I've shared with some friends of mine. I have ideas, but I feel like some machine learning and AI stuff for PHP Architect is just like a natural. I would like it to make it so that people could ask PHP Archie could ask Archie questions, and it could give it answers and point it to magazines that maybe we had published some of that information in. So, yeah, this is cool stuff, man.
All right. Speaking of
exciting.
PHP Architect, let's a little commercial for PHP Architect.
Let's talk about PHP Architect.
Since we talk about it all the time, according to, I forget who said that out there, magazine. We're always looking for writers. So if you want to write for PHP Architect, please reach out to us. Write, WRITE, at phparch.com. Always looking for content, feature articles, columns, you name it. If you want to subscribe, go to phparch.com. We have a couple of books in the works. It's been a while since we published. Grumpy's was the last one we published a couple years ago. So have those in the works. But if you have an idea for a book and you are interested in publishing, reach out to us, and we would love to help you along that journey and become a book author as well.
And I feel like I can't stress this enough. It's a very chill process on our side. Like,
that's probably part of the problem. We're probably too chill on it.
Maybe that's the issue. Yeah, we're not hammering you guys. Like, although our regular contributors may disagree, but yeah, as far as like each articles go, we're there to help. Like, any feedback we can give you or assistance we can give you, we definitely try to work with you as much as possible. And for everybody who says, well, I don't know what to write about, think about the last thing you learned. You can write about that, because if it's something you learned, there's a ton of people out there who are either learning or need to learn it. And I always said, if you're back in the old user group meetup days and you did presentations back then, all those can turn into articles. And again, it's just you kind of contributing back to the community. That's how you contribute, and people, you kind of build up a reputation of being a good place for information. I don't know. The more I became involved with the PHP community and the PHP community as a whole, the more I became involved with it, I just felt the better my life was as a developer. And that's not saying, oh, I started making more money as a developer, because there are a lot of people in the community who don't do it professionally, who continue to grow as developers. I feel like it's just my life. I've learned so much from it. I really encourage you to participate. Probably the best way to do it is contributing to the magazine. Was that too obvious? Yeah. So
we pay money. We pay money.
We do pay money.
Got to point that out.
We contribute back. There is a financial gain for you. Yeah. So I'm looking forward. I know there are a couple books. I'm really looking forward to them. Exciting. You know what else I'm looking forward to, John?
What is that? Where are we going?
I just caught myself in a lie. MySQL 8, John, or 9, John. MySQL 9's coming out with
I did not know that.
Whole bunch of awesome new features. No, it doesn't really have that much to it. SHA-1 is going away, which I guess is fine. I mean, I don't know, are people still using SHA-1 or not, but it's going away. The one thing that's weird about this, so there's a new vector data type, which, okay, I guess that's people needed, so they created it. I don't know if I have ever needed, but it's there. But the one thing that was like caught my eye is there's now JavaScript stored programs, and this is MySQL 9, which is it's not out yet. I don't think. How long has this been around? I don't know. I didn't even know they were working on 9, but
Yeah.
there's like the ability to store JavaScript programs, and I'm just like, wait, what? I couldn't. I'm like, why would you need this? And then I'm like, okay, I guess it makes some sense. Like, it's okay, but it's weird, right? Am I wrong? Like, is this a weird?
It's not weird. If you don't do stored procedures, it may seem weird, but working with the current language construct for stored procedures is a pain in the butt. So being able to have variables like that a little easier would be really nice. So I can see the benefit of it. Why JavaScript? Probably easy to put in there. I don't know. I don't know. It'd be interesting to try converting some of my stored procedures into the JavaScript version of it. I don't know why I would, other than just to try it out to see.
Yeah.
But doing addition in SQL is hard. So writing a JavaScript program stored procedure to do that makes a lot more sense.
Okay. You're warming me up to it a little bit, I guess. Well, and that's the thing. Like, now that you say it that way, like so many people in our development world know JavaScript, but don't know how to do like stored procedures. Like, stored procedures, in my humble opinion, is something that was created for DBAs, right? Like DBAs who didn't want to learn a programming language, didn't want to know how to code. They just needed to be able to figure out ways to do things in the database. So this world of stored procedures was created. But I think, especially in our little web industry where people don't have dedicated DBAs, but you got, you can hit a JavaScript developer by throwing your shoe down the hall. I'm not sure what that meant. Just kind of made sense in my head at the time. I don't know. I think you make a very valid point now, and I hate you for it.
I was joking about the whole addition thing, by the way. SQL's very good at that. But when it comes to stored procedures, I go back and forth with it because I've pushed a lot of stuff into the database layer, and there are things that have changed within my development workflow over the past few years that make me realize the shortcomings of doing so, especially when talking about using Doctrine, for example, as my database layer. Now I have stuff happening in the database that Doctrine is unaware of, and things don't seem to work quite the same way as I would like. So that's a big one. Just hidden functionality, things happening without you knowing in the database. There are often times where I'm like, what's going on here? And it takes me a while to then track it down to be like, oh, it's because of this stored procedure or this trigger. Triggers are another big one that I've taken a lot of advantage of and am now regretting in a lot of cases.
Hot take coming in from Discord, and I can't post it to the screen or anything, but it says stored procedures are a trap. It makes you really dependent on a database vendor and leaks your domain knowledge in the storage layer. What do you think about that?
It's basically what I was just saying, as far as you are putting logic into the database. As far as being trapped in a database vendor, how many of us really switch a vendor once we have an application running? And it's SQL, so it's pretty standard for the most part. So we all probably use some feature of our database that we probably shouldn't, because it's not standard across MySQL, Postgres, or any other database. And then when you go to switch, you're like, oh yeah, I don't have that functionality anymore. But I'm not so worried about that lock into a database vendor. It's different if you are writing open source software and you don't know what database is being written to. That changes, but when it's your application and you've been doing it for years, you're probably not going to change.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are a PHP podcast, so we should say that for anybody interested, 8.4 is available for testing as of today. And I don't know of any features in 8.4 that I'm really looking forward that much. There is. The whole removing the brackets when newing up stuff. Or not newing up, but like when using, that was, I'm looking forward to that. I think that looks, I don't know, what's that called again? I forget. Like bracket, I think they just call it bracket removal. I don't know.
No, there was an RFC for it. It was, let's go to 8.4. Not property access hooks. Just without parentheses.
Without parentheses.
MySQL
There you
method
go.
without parentheses.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I can't really think of anything else I'm like really excited about. I am excited about our Patreon supporters just because it's so late. I'll put that up. Yeah, keep talking, John.
The property hooks are very interesting.
Get it? I don't get the property hooks. People have tried to explain it. I've watched videos. I don't get it. What's the big deal about the property hooks?
It's just getting rid of the boilerplate, getters and setters and moving that into properties. Just like we've gotten rid of having to specify, do all the boilerplate code of initializing a variable. Now with the constructor promotion, now we have these property hooks to say, hey, when you set a variable, it has to, it has to be within these parameters. So instead of having to check in a setter when you go to set the name, or let's say you're setting an age, you don't have to check to see if it's -1 in a separate function. It's part of the property. This is a integer that has to be between 0 and some reasonable number for age. Or
almost
or
like
you're setting
validation class. You're using it almost like validation, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
So
without having to set a whole function for it.
I mean, but value objects would still be a thing, right? I mean, that doesn't
for sure.
replace value objects.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. It's now putting the logic of your properties more consistently in a place. Like at the top of your class, you're saying this is an integer and here's the values for it.
But a value object kind of does that. I'm not trying to be creative here.
No, you would use this in your value objects.
Okay.
Actually, when it becomes a value object, you're usually doing all that stuff within the constructor.
Right. So like I thank you all of our supporters on Patreon. We appreciate you. I need to switch over. So I'm looking at like this example right here.
Yep.
Make this bigger, right? Like this example right here is like, okay, well, if I have a value object for name, I'm like doing this in any other validation for that in the value object. So I'm not quite sure I'm getting it, but I'm not saying it's bad. Everybody seems really excited about it. I just don't know why I'm not excited about it, because it's like, okay, well, it's fine. You can do that there, but I don't really see what it's adding to anything.
It's just removing getters and setters. So you could have in your value object, your name may have a first and last name field. And then when you say get name, it, instead of having a whole separate property for it, it combines those two with a space. I mean, it's a trivial example, but that's what they're trying to say is you have this thing, and now you have a getter that you could have a get full name or get get name that does that as well. It's just putting that logic in one place, or everything around this property. Here's how you set it, and here's what you're going to get when you try to get it.
Yeah, I'm 100% going to have to use this in practice, I think, before I kind of get any sort of understanding of the hype around it. I feel like enough people are excited about it where I should be. I'm just not.
So are you still in your value objects? Are you still using a get method for all of your attributes, or are you using public properties, public read-only properties?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I mostly use public read-only is what I typically do. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So that's just one example. You got rid of a getter just by switching to private read-only. You're getting rid of all these function calls. Now you can say, I can have my value object, or I can have any object with some properties that don't have to necessarily contain a value. When I get it, I generate the value on the fly. Make it like a dynamic property almost. You don't have to have it set per se.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm gonna have to use it in practice, I think, before I really kind of getting the appreciation for it. Great. Where are we at? 4:10, man. I still have work to do. I got meetings to jump into. As a matter of fact, I need to pull you into a meeting. So we're gonna need to wrap things up a little bit here. You good? You got anything to touch on? I know you got
are you trying to talk about PHP Architect even more? Is that the problem? It's all you talk about is PHP Architect.
PHP Architect, yeah. Books we're coming out with, yeah.
Magazines, conferences.
Subscribe today, yeah. Okay, that is going to be it. I think so. I need show titles, people. The show titles are still coming in. Don't let Restream mess with your mind. My bot is still listening for show titles, so help me out with the show title, especially for this one. I feel like somebody have to be API leaning. I feel. Okay, that's going to be it for this show. No show next week. We have people on
next week. No, next week we have a show, right?
Totally going to have a show next week.
Are you out? Wait, are you out next week?
I'm out, but I'm available for the show. If you
it was the following week that I'm gone.
Oh, okay. All right. So the 25th, but not the 1st. So the 1st no show, 22nd show.
Sure. I'm not looking at a calendar. I'm trusting your dates.
Although
I know
because I was totally wrong. It's the 29th.
No, you're right. 25th and 1st. You're right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 25th and 1st. All
right. You were right.
I don't know what I'm doing anymore, man. I just want the day to be over with. I want my AC to turn on, and I want the day to be over with.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
Thanks. Wait, I'm Eric.
I'm John.
Keep it ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. And shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up.
Had him do this for us.
What's that?
I said it's growing real well. It's grown like a whole 1% since he did that for us 8 years ago.
I am going crazy trying to figure out what happened with our Discord.
Buttery.
Yeah, I think
I wrote to Buttery separately. I said, accept my friend request. Damn, he goes, I consider this more of a professional relationship.
he's
Fair
talked to
enough.
Kalen too much.
Yeah,
He's on to us.
I knew we should have banned him from going there.
I don't understand how Discord posted that the stream was starting, but then is not tied into the Discord.
Yeah.
Restream did post the stream was starting.
That's true. It did.
And there's no other settings. There's no other settings in Restream that I know of except for that. So yeah, something broke somewhere. We got to figure that out before next week. Oh, all right. I do need to cut things short today because I do really have more things to get to.
Unfortunately,
So,
yeah. No after dark or
no after
very
dark.
very short
Let's
after
go.
dark.
Yeah. So if you're hanging out with us, feel free to pop on next week. A lot of times we'll hang out after the show and just ramble. This doesn't make it to the audio podcast, so that's your bonus for putting up with us. Or, as far as we know,
Your punishment for hanging out.
As you fell asleep while watching us, and you're gonna wake up like, wait, why is this still on? That's how I am with those YouTube shorts. Like, I don't know if you ever watch YouTube shorts, but they loop, right? So
Yeah.
I'll watch a loop YouTube short, and like something will happen, dog needs to go out or something, and I'll walk away, and then I come back like 10, 15 minutes later, and like it's still looping. I'm like, wait, no, don't add that to my algorithm. I wasn't trying to watch that 55 times. I promise you, it was a mistake. I'm sorry.
I thought they stopped. Maybe it's the ones on Facebook do like after 5 loops, it just stops.
Oh, does it? I don't know. I've come in what I felt like was a considerable amount of time away, and they were still running. All right, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. I do appreciate it, but I am making the executive decision to end the stream early. Frank, if you're listening, I'll hit you up in Slack here in a second.